Imagine this. A couple is sitting across from each other at the dining table. The man is visibly upset, raising his voice a little as he tries to make his point. He expects an argument back, some resistance, maybe even an emotional reaction. But instead, the woman just sits quietly, her eyes steady, her face calm, and she says nothing. The silence stretches longer than he expects, and suddenly his confidence begins to falter. He starts to wonder, did he go too far? Was he too harsh? The silence makes him replay his own words in his head, and with each passing second, his anger softens. He feels the need to fill that silence, to explain himself, even to apologize. What just happened here is the subtle psychological trick of silence. Most men don't even notice it while it's happening, but silence has a way of magnifying emotions. When someone refuses to fight back, the mind automatically shifts the focus inward. The man no longer sees the woman as the one at fault. Instead, he starts questioning his own behavior. It's almost like a mirror, forcing him to reflect on his own tone and actions. Women who understand this power know that silence isn't weakness, it's a calculated pause, a moment that turns the emotional balance of the conversation. By not reacting, by holding back words, the woman actually gains control. She doesn't need to shout, she doesn't need to explain. The man does all the work himself, trying to regain harmony. That's the hidden strength in staying quiet. Most men think they've won the argument in that moment, but in reality, the woman has shifted the dynamic entirely, guiding the outcome without lifting a finger. Picture this: a man comes home after a long day, visibly tired, and sits down on the couch. His partner joins him, smiling warmly. She starts with a sweet compliment, something as simple as, "You've been working so hard lately, I'm really proud of you." Instantly, the man feels appreciated. His defenses are down, and he's already in a better mood. Then, almost seamlessly, she adds, "By the way, do you think you could help me fix that shelf this weekend? It's been a little tricky for me." The request is light, almost hidden between her words, and because he feels valued, he's more likely to agree without hesitation. Before he can even think too much about it, she follows up with another positive statement like, "Honestly, no one does these things better than you. You always figure it out so easily." What just happened here is the classic compliment sandwich, a psychological trick that works far better than direct demands. Instead of making the request seem like a burden, she surrounds it with positive reinforcement. Men often don't see the technique because it feels natural, almost like a genuine conversation. But subconsciously, the compliments trigger a desire to live up to that image she has just painted: competent, capable, appreciated. The man isn't just doing the task anymore, he's proving himself as the person she described. It feels like his decision, his initiative, even though it was carefully planted. This method works because human beings crave recognition, and when someone leads with appreciation, it's harder to resist their request. The final compliment seals the deal, leaving the man not only willing but also feeling good about his choice. He doesn't realize he's been guided, he believes he's acting entirely on his own. That's the genius of subtle psychology. Imagine a crowded cafe where conversations blend into a soft background hum. A man sits at a table, scrolling through his phone, only half aware of what's happening around him. Then, across the room, a woman looks up and meets his eyes. Not for long, just a second longer than usual. It isn't a random glance, it's steady, deliberate, paired with the faintest hint of a smile. Something shifts immediately. His attention, once scattered, locks onto her. He feels an unexplained pull, as though her gaze reached out and touched him. Without a word spoken, she's created a connection. This is the power of eye contact and the smile game. Men rarely realize how deeply it works on them. The eyes are one of the strongest nonverbal tools of influence. A direct gaze signals confidence, focus, even intimacy. Add a soft smile to it, and suddenly the message becomes warm and inviting instead of intimidating. It's not aggression, it's not demand, it's allure. The man often interprets it as a sign of genuine interest, even if it was only meant to plant a subtle impression. Psychologists know that holding eye contact stimulates a sense of trust and attention in the brain. The smile amplifies that effect, releasing tiny doses of feel-good chemistry that make the interaction memorable. Men walk away thinking, there was something about her, without being able to pinpoint exactly what it was. That's why this trick often goes unnoticed. It feels natural, almost magical, instead of intentional. The brilliance is in its simplicity. No words, no effort, no confrontation. Just a look, a smile, and a man feels drawn in, almost compelled to respond. It's one of the oldest psychological plays in human interaction, and still one of the most effective. Picture a late evening where a couple is walking down a quiet street. The man is talking about his day, confident and relaxed. Suddenly, the woman sighs softly, her shoulders dropping just a little. She looks at him with a gentle expression and says, "I don't know if I can handle this on my own." It's not dramatic, not exaggerated, just subtle enough to spark something deep inside him. Almost instantly, his energy shifts. His relaxed demeanor turns alert, protective, even determined. In that moment, he feels a surge of responsibility. He wants to fix, to help, to step in as her shield. This is the psychology of playing vulnerable. Most men never notice it happening, because it doesn't look like manipulation, it looks like honesty. What's fascinating is how it triggers a deeply ingrained instinct in men, the desire to protect and provide. When a woman presents herself as slightly helpless, not in a weak way but in a relatable, human way, the man unconsciously feels needed. And being needed is powerful. It validates his role, his importance, and his worth in the relationship. The trick lies in the balance. It's not about pretending to be incapable or dependent, it's about revealing just enough softness to awaken his protector mode. The woman might very well be strong and independent, but in that instant, she allows him to feel like the hero. And men, without realizing it, are drawn to opportunities where they can step up and prove themselves. Later, he might look back and think, "I wanted to help because it was my choice." But in truth, the scene was carefully shaped. Vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was influence, a gentle nudge that turned his natural instincts into action. That's how powerful subtle psychology can be. Imagine a couple sitting together on a weekend afternoon. The man is lounging comfortably, half watching TV, while the woman is tidying up nearby. She pauses, looks at him with a teasing smile, and says, "You know what, this task is probably too tricky for you. I doubt you'd want to bother with it." She doesn't raise her voice, doesn't make it sound like a demand. Instead, she plants the idea with a playful tone, almost like a challenge. At first, the man laughs it off, but inside something stirs, his pride. A small voice in his head says, "Too tricky for me? Really? I can do this." Without even realizing it, he puts down the remote and says, "Show me. I'll handle it." This is reverse psychology at work, one of the most subtle yet powerful tricks. Instead of directly asking, the woman creates a situation where the man feels the need to prove himself. Men often don't recognize this strategy because it feels like their own decision, like they're acting on their own will. In reality, the choice was influenced by a carefully planted suggestion. By framing it as something he can't or won't do, she taps into his natural competitiveness and desire to demonstrate capability. What makes this technique so effective is that it doesn't create resistance. A direct request might feel like pressure, but a playful doubt awakens motivation. The man feels in control, yet he's moving exactly in the direction she wanted. Later, he may even feel proud, thinking, "I chose to step up," not realizing the subtle nudge that led him there. Reverse psychology is powerful because it hides in plain sight. It doesn't force, it guides, turning a simple suggestion into an irresistible challenge. And most men never see it happening.